Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about modern society and how people make themselves to be out victims. Because if we look at society, many people say, this person did wrong to me, this person hurt me, my feelings, my feelings, my feelings. We're going to be breaking that all down today in this episode, so stay tuned for that. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and to share this video and or audio. So getting straight into what modern society is and then what victimism is. Because we have to understand what modern society is first, because if we don't understand what modern society is, then we are going to have a difficult time saying, okay, well, how does that relate to victimism? So modern society is going to be an age of where the minds collectively of people are going to be functioning in the same manner, right? So we're going to have basically the same thought patterns. That's why everyone has a cell phone. That's why everyone likes a particular car. That's why people go out and they have these new trends, TikTok trends, the challenges. They operate under the same wavelengths. Now, of course, I understand the patterns and the challenges and things like that, because if it's trending, if it's going viral, if I do the same thing, I also go viral. That's a good thing, but then it's a bad thing, right? Because then we're just going with modern society. There's nothing wrong with being a modern society, being a part of modern society, thinking modern society, living in a modern society. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it creates a different type of mindset. So people will go out, they'll spend $100,000, $200,000 to get in student loan debt, but they won't get a gym membership, or they won't get coaching, or they won't buy healthy foods. So they spend all this money on things that they think they need, but the things that they really need to make their life better, they don't do it. And it's a little bit of a two-pronged thing there, because if we look at society, we don't necessarily see that, okay, this correlates to that. It's the cause and effect. What I do here is going to affect there. Going to Will Smith, for example, right? 2 weeks now. This is all people have been talking about. I mean, it's been big news. And there's so many different things to talk about on just that fact, right? So who's the victim there? Is it Will Smith, Jada, or Chris Rock? Many people are going to agree the victim there was going to be Chris Rock. But you haven't necessarily heard Chris come out saying, I'm the victim. He shouldn't have hit me. Poor me, right? He's like, I said a joke, it offended someone, oh well, right? That's a comedian, right? They know they're going to offend people, but at the same time, to be assaulted live on TV, that's a different deal, right? And I was just having a conversation this morning about how Kanye West can't go to, I don't know which event he got kicked out. I think it was the Grammys or something like that, maybe the Oscars, who knows? But he got kicked out of the event, and he's not allowed to go back. So are we going down the same path? Will Smith could it be taken out from the Oscars and he can't go back? I don't think they're going to take his award away. That doesn't make any sense. Shame on you. I'm taking your award away. He's just going to put it in a closet, throw it away. It means nothing, right? Now, of course, they might take him off like his Hall of Fame or the plaque saying he won in 2022. That's remedial. He doesn't care. Now, he's a man who has plenty of money, plenty of endorsements, and he can lose endorsements and still gain endorsements. And if we just look at, for example, Alex Jones, right? He's a person who the world attacks continually. They say he's a hateful person. They say all these negative things about him, but he can go out and he can create something in his life, regardless of the struggle. So just because there's struggle doesn't necessarily mean that he can't make some change. Maybe he'll be the next Flavor Flav. But that's just besides the fact. So getting back to modern society, why do you think many people have been talking about this for weeks? Now, of course, it is a hot topic. Of course, this is going to get the clicks. This is going to get the people thinking. They're going to start to operate under their feelings. I don't think he should do this. Will Smith is canceled. Okay, well, if he's canceled so much, Why are we parading him around the internet saying he did this, he did that? Because the more we do it, the more his name gets out there. Now, of course, we can say that we are going to collectively go against them. Cancel culture, right? Modern society. And though cancel culture has been around for decades now, it's going to be just more visible in our current day and age. Cancel culture would be back in the 60s, if a product didn't work, well, we're not going to buy that product anymore. That product is no good. So they stay away from it. Versus here, everything is so telegraphed, right? It's televised. It's on the internet. It's on our smartphone. People can go on Twitter, Instagram, wherever they go, and they can say, we don't want to buy this product. Who's with me? And everyone likes and comments and shares. And they say, I'm with you. I don't want to support a product, or I don't want to support a person who thinks this way. And I understand that we all have our opinions and our beliefs, right? Because we're human, right? You should have those. But at the same time, is it truly yours, or are you just following society? Because in this modern society, peer engagement and peer acceptance is going to be the pinnacle of what you do subconsciously. Because if you're not a part of modern society, what are you a part of? Sometimes people can get away from this. People can say, well, I don't necessarily care what people think about me. I don't care if I drive an old car. I don't care if I have raggedy clothes. Of course, image, right? But then at the same time, if someone says something about you, do you care? Many people will. Many people do care about them. And it's sad because I can even say to someone, hey, you know what? I'm just not going to associate with you anymore. We just grew apart. Oh, why? Blah, blah, blah. Tell me what I can do to fix it. It's so bizarre to me. It's saying it's okay to grow apart. People change. And there's nothing wrong with that. But people would rather ghost or do it under the veil of a shadow where it's not publicized. If I tell someone I'm going to ghost them, it's different than if I ghosted them. Because now they're going to say, well, why are you going to ghost me? Because now there's going to be questioning. You don't accept me. I want to be accepted. And that's the problem. Modern society, we have to be accepted. And next episode of Coaching a Session, we're going to talk about instant gratification, which ties into modern society again. But today we're going to be touching modern society and victimism. Because now, if we go against modern society in any type of way, now we are going to be victimizing some type of person, right? So for example, we can support what Will Smith did. He's protecting his wife. Chris Rock went over the line. There's so many different things that we can say. Who is the victim, right? Jada's the victim. Chris Rock's the victim. Will Smith's the victim. Hell, everyone's the victim. Because if we write it on a piece of paper, we can find ways that make someone a victim. Chris Rock got hit. Will Smith had to defend his honor, and he had to speak up. Jada probably said to Will Smith, Pac wouldn't let this happen. And to be honest, I don't even think Pac would have went up and staged and smacked him. Pac would have been the bigger man and said, all right, not a problem. I'll handle it after. Because that's the type of person he was. Now, of course, he was action-orientated type of man. But at the same time, he had humility. And he understood how to move. Because if you just operate on your emotions, your, oh my goodness, this happened to me, I'm going to go punch someone in the face. That's a negativity. That's a bad, poor mindset. But it's interesting. Modern society, again, we have been talking about this for 2 weeks. You can't go on the internet without seeing a new video on this, or YouTube, the algorithm showing this video. If you just type in Will Smith one time on YouTube, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to be seeing Will Smith. Now, it's a little bit of YouTube algorithm, but it's also about the trending and the topics. But why do you think YouTube is so successful? Why do you think they publicize this video? It's an act of violence. It's an act of hate, right? But they do it. It's interesting. But you can't do hate speech. You can't talk about COVID. You can't talk about a jab. You can't do that because it is all publicized. And accordance to their policy. And I'm not against YouTube. I'm not against any big corporation, right? They're a company, right? Every company has the right to operate the way they want. This is America. We're not a communist nation where we dictate what a company can and can't do. You have the freedom, and you can support who you want, and you don't have to support who you want. I know many people who watch Coaching in a Session, and they don't come on YouTube. They will watch it on one of their favorite podcasts, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcaster. There's so many different ones. And I believe Coaching in Session is on the majority of podcast stations. So you can always find a new episode of Coaching in Session Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They are in that station. But going back into why are we victims? Why is society like this? And it's because of the mind. And the mind is just not something that is there, right? It's not something that is like, oh, well, this is my upbringing. This is how I think. It is there because of how your life has been. It has been formulated this way. And you can actually train the mind to think in any certain way. I can actually corral people into a manner of which I want them to do by just using the right terminology. This is psychology 101. Actually, it's probably a little bit more advanced, but this is psychology, basically, the human mind, the human condition. And why do you think this topic, again, Will Smith is talking about, oh, who's a victim? He did this, he did that. It's a negativity. And guess what the mind loves more than anything? Negative. The mind will actually stay in the state of negativity longer than it will a state of positivity. Even though our emotions are only allowed or supposed to last around 90 seconds, negativity tends to last a lot longer. Have you ever been upset at someone or your day and you just ruminated all day, all night? Maybe you get a few drinks and now you're even more upset and you're just like, you know what? I'm just upset. I'm just going to talk about this. I'm going to vent. And you do. So now we are in the state of negative for a longer period of time. But what about the positive? We don't stay in a state of positive for a long period of time. Why do you think that is? It's because the mind is naturally negative. And that correlates to our modern society and victimism. Because if our mind is living in a modern society where we want peer acceptance, we want to be acknowledged, well, we're a victim if people don't accept us or if we do something against what the modern society collectively is doing. It is very interesting how the human mind can develop and how you can train a society to think in a certain way. All these big corporations who do all this technology and all these designs, it's a design to basically corral you into the way they want. Apple has been coming out with a new iPhone every year, and there hasn't been much improvements in the phone. Now, of course, it's a little bit faster. You have a little bit of camera, but there's nothing profound. Yet, everyone needs the latest and the greatest. And we're going to talk about that next episode because that's more instant gratification. But that's modern society in the whole scheme of it. No matter what I need, what is society doing? So we look at it and then we say, okay, well, if society is not doing this or someone is not doing this, we need to collectively collaborate and say, this person is bad and we're going to stop them. That's why there's so many protests nowadays. That's why there's so many people who are allowing their voice to be heard because they know they're going to resonate with people. And the reason why is because people are now afraid to say the things that they want to, the things that they believe. Because guess what? If society is moving in a certain way, why do we have to move in the way society moves? Because it might not be in a way we want. If I say, well, let's go out to eat, and you say, well, okay, sure, what are we going to eat? And I say, well, let's get some Mexican. And you say, well, I don't want Mexican. I say, well, how about Italian? Well, I don't want Italian. Well, what do you want? I don't know. That's society right there. Modern society is so finicky, so fickle, where the moment things don't go their way, you don't care. I'm the victim here. Because if they don't understand what they want to eat, and I just say, well, okay, well, let's just go to McDonald's, get a salad or whatever we get, right? Just call it a day. Go to McDonald's, and then the person is like, I can't believe you took me to McDonald's. I didn't want McDonald's. Well, what do you want? Because in life, we have to understand something. We have to understand the things we want and the things we don't want. In the moment you give up the things that you want, don't be upset that you get what you get. Because just because you got what you got doesn't make you a victim. A victim is going to be someone who didn't have any power over a situation. But in our modern society, we have that power. It's just that now we're just giving the facade of we don't have the power to do anything. So now we're victims. But we do, because we're in charge of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. Because Will Smith was in charge of his thoughts, his feelings, and his actions. So he was laughing. Jada said something to him that got him upset or got him riled up. So now she controls his emotions, his actions. And that's dangerous, right? Because if I can control someone's actions, who's at fault? Is it going to be the person who told me the order? Or is it going to be me who complied and went through with that order? It's difficult to say who's going to be the victim because we can always look for an scapegoat. And that's what modern society is. We look for excuses before we look for ownership. Many people will pass off the blame to someone else because they're afraid or they're unwilling to take the heat. This is a weak society. Modern society is a weak society. And it's perfectly fine because the next part of our society is going to be tough times. And those tough times are going to be coming in the next year to 3 years. The good thing about the tough times is that they won't last too long. The tough times might last a couple years. And from there, we're going to be in a period of high. And we're going to be in that period of high for a good amount of time. Probably like 20 something years. So when I'm 40, I'm going to be living the good life. But at the same time, you have to ask, are you going to be living the good life? Because if you're going to continue with the same societal standards, you're just following the herd toward the cliff to your destruction. Now, we can get out of that way of thinking of the modern society, but this is all mindset. You have to train your mind to not be a follower, but a leader. And of course, that's done with coaching. That can be done with personal development, with mindfulness, soul searching. There's many different ways you can do it. I find coaching is the easiest way. Otherwise, you're going to be on a self-actualization journey for many years, possibly. So in order to prevent those years from taking over your life and you going on that journey, even though that journey is going to be wonderful and great, we can avoid it all, right? We can avoid the pitfalls and the challenges that we don't necessarily have to take just by getting a coach. So how do we get out of this victim type of mindset? This victim type of mentality, this negative type of thinking, right? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be negative thinking. I'm the victim. This is negative. Instead of saying I'm the victor, which is going to be positive, we think negative. And if you know anything about the mind, we need 3 positives in order to get rid of 1 negative. So this situation here, that what transpired, we had 1 negative, right? And of course, it can compound and it can accumulate to more negatives, but we have 1 primary negative. We need 3 primary positives. Now, I know like Denzel Washington, he did some prayer with some other people and they prayed and they did all these different good positive things, but that's not a primary positive. That's a secondary positive. Now, we can talk about the difference between all of that, but that's just going to be another podcast, right? Learning about the primary negative is going to be the action. And then what correlates after that has to be more action, right? So if we take an action, we need more action. And I guess prayer can be considered an action, but it's going to be more of an emotional state. That's what prayer is, right? It's a belief. So the act of doing something, right? I'm going to put in work, right? For me, I'm going to the gym. I'm putting in action. The result is me getting a better in shape body. It's an action, right? If I just diet, okay, I lose some weight and things like that, but my muscles don't get toned. I have to do an action, some push-ups, some sit-ups, something in order for my muscles to become stronger, right? So it's a difference. And it's so difficult to see that difference because it's so close, right? It's like, do you go for the Great Value ketchup or do you go for the Heinz ketchup, right? It's ketchup, right? Now, of course, Great Value has less sugar, but Heinz is the brand, right? So what do we follow? Do we follow the brand, society, or do we follow what's better for us? Looking on the inside. being in control of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. That's going to be more important than following society blindly. So we need to get out of this whole, I'm a victim, this person did wrong to me, this person said something to me and hurt my feelings, this person needs to be canceled, because that's all modern society. We need to get out of that modern way of thinking and into a new age way of thinking. And that's something I started to do with my websites and with my coaching, the new age way of thinking, because we are going to be transitioning into a new age in the next 5 to 10 years. You think modern society is going to survive? Modern society is still going to be there, but it's going to be a remnant of what it is. The new age way of thinking is going to be the next transition in our mind. So we have to collectively understand something. We're in charge of us. And just because someone says something bad about us or someone hurts our feelings, it doesn't make us a victim, because we can be weak or we can be strong. And modern society right now is weak. And that's why everyone says that they're a victim if something goes wrong, that they hate someone because they have a different belief or an opinion. That negative way of thinking, or just way of thinking, will lead you nowhere quick. So if you want to change your mind, change your mindset, head over to revenconcepts.com, get yourself some coaching, and we can get you into a better and stronger mindset. Because being a part of a weak society doesn't sound like a good deal to me. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach here in Austin, Texas. I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.